This is how to make rigged clothing for IMVU. You will need three things: IMVU Studio, an IMVU compatible Devkit, and either one or a combination of 3D software capable of handling modeling, rigging, material assignment, UV map editing, and texture baking. Bear in mind that the Devkit needs to be compatible with the 3D software. So if your Devkit was made with, for example, Maya, then you will need to have Maya installed on your computer. For this tutorial, we'll be using the SOB3D Mandy Devkit, linked in this video's description as our Devkit, and Blender version 5.0 as our primary 3D software. While Blender can handle all the 3D related processes mentioned, in this tutorial we will use Marvelous Designer for the cloth modeling and UV unwrapping, and Substance Painter for the texture baking. So at this point, you should install the software required for this tutorial. If you're not able to get Marvelous Designer and Substance Painter, Blender-based pipelines for texturing and cloth modeling have already been discussed in the video linked in the description. We will also use two Blender add-ons linked in this video's description. The first add-on is the IMVU Car 3D Exporter add-on, which will allow us to export our creations from Blender to different file formats for IMVU. The second add-on is the Bone Physics Shape Key or BPSK Maker add-on, which facilitates the latter of the two rigging pipelines we will explore in this video. These add-ons are installed by opening Blender and navigating to the Edit menu, click Preferences, then Add-ons. At the upper right corner of the Add-ons panel, click the drop-down arrow and select Install from Disk. Navigate to where you have the add-on saved and double-click one of them. Repeat this step for the second add-on. Now that you have installed all necessary software and add-ons, we may begin. Start by unpacking the contents of the SOB3D Mandy Devkit zip file into a folder of your choice. The first thing we will need to make is our mesh, which in this tutorial will be a simple dress. To make the dress, double-click on the Marvelous Designer ZPRJ file in the default folder. This opens the SOB3D Mandy body in Marvelous Designer, where you may begin to sew clothing patterns over your avatar. Start by changing the avatar's body color to a darker one to provide contrast between the avatar and the fabric. Ensure you familiarize yourself with the program's hotkeys before you start drafting your clothing item. H brings up the tool to draw the rough cloth pattern. V is used to make curve points on lines. Right-clicking the center line lets you unfold the pattern symmetrically. N is to sew segments together. The particle distance is reduced to 10 and the topology is changed to quad optimized. Spacebar is to run the simulation. Once your desired clothing item has been made, open the UV editor from the window menu. Here, you may arrange your UV islands as desired, but bear in mind that IMVU supports a max texture resolution of 512 by 512 pixels. Be sure not to pack too many UV islands together, as it can drastically reduce the quality of your textures. In this video, we select the back faces, right-click, and select the Fit UV to 01 option, which brings them to the needed UV box. We repeat the same process for the front faces, effectively making them lie on top of each other before moving all faces to the center of the first UV box. We do it this way because in Blender, we plan on giving the front faces a material different from the back side. Now, to export this to Blender, we select all the pieces with Ctrl A, we go to File, Export, OBJ selected. Make sure your options are set as shown before exporting. Open the Shapes folder in the Mandy Devkit, then open the Blender file. Import the OBJ exported from your Marvelous Designer project by dragging it into the Blender scene. Click Import OBJ to import it. You should not be able to see it at this point because in Marvelous Designer, we work at a scale that is 100% 100 times higher than the default Blender scale. So with your imported object selected, press S, then type 0.01, then press enter. You should now see your mesh. Press Ctrl A, then click all transforms to apply the transformation. With your object selected, go to the material properties and delete the material or materials if more than one. This gives you a blank slate for material assignment. Navigate to the UV editing workspace. Click on material properties, then click on the plus sign to add a new material. Name it as desired, but ensure to include a number higher than 10 in square brackets at the end of its name. This will be read in IMVU as your materials ID. Scroll down the materials properties and change its viewport display color. This helps you better observe clipping areas after rigging. Create another material. Select all of your object's faces in the UV window with A. Click on UV, then click on seams from islands. This creates seams that will make it easier for you to assign different UV islands to different faces. With face select mode toggled, select the portions of your mesh you want in another material slot, which in our case is the back side of the dress. Click on the desired material, then click Assign. Repeat similarly for as many materials and islands as desired. Now that the materials have been defined, we need to bake textures. Go back to the Layout workspace, export your mesh as an FBX. Open Substance Painter, drag and drop the exported FBX into Substance Painter. Set the texture size to 512 and the normal type to OpenGL. Change your shader to Alpha Test with blending and your environment to any option desired. In the texture set settings, click Bake Mesh Maps. In the pop-up window, click Bake Selected Textures. Click Return to Painting Mode once done. Drag any material of your choice onto the layers. Change the colors as desired. Copy the layer across other texture sets. Navigate to File, then Export to export your textures. Click on Output Templates, then click the plus sign to make a custom output template. You will need the 2D view as your color, the normal as your normal, and the glossiness as your shine for IMVU. You will also need opacity for opacity and emissive for emission. But those properties aren't modified in this tutorial. Once done, go back to the main export window, change your output template to your newly created template, dilation to default background, and the output folder to the desired folder. Click Export Textures, go back to Blender and open the shading workspace. Go to Edit, Preferences, then Add-ons. Search for Node Wrangler and enable it. Per material, click on the principled BSDF and press Ctrl, Shift, and T. Select all the textures for that material, then click Principled Texture Setup. If you label the shine maps as shine, you will need to manually add the image by duplicating an existing image texture node, changing the image to the required shine texture, then connecting it to the specular IOR level of the principled BSDF. This can be avoided in Substance Painter by naming the output as specular instead of shine. Your mesh can be rigged now. To rig your mesh, go to the Layout workspace. First, select the body, then Shift select the mesh. Press Ctrl and Tab, then click Weight Paint mode. Set the weight overlays to active and check Show Wire. Go to the Tool panel and ensure Auto Normalize and Multi-Paint are checked. Go to the Weights menu and click Transfer. Change the vertex mapping to Nearest Face Interpolated and the source layer selection to By Name. Add an armature modifier, then select Avatar Armature as the object. Put the armature in pose mode by pressing Ctrl and Tab. Moving the legs around, you will notice your mesh has been rigged. To improve the rigging results, go to Weight Paint mode with your mesh selected, change to Vertex Select mode, select all vertices, then go to Weights and click Smooth. Smoothing between values of 1 and 4 is recommended. After smoothing, go to Weights and click Limit Total. Limit Total ensures your mesh stays within IMVU's bone per vertex limit. Your mesh is now ready to export. Go back to the layout workspace, select your mesh, then shift select the armature. Go to the file menu, then export, then IMVU Car 3D export. For rigged clothing items with no actions, we only need the XMF and XRF. Check copy textures if your textures are in a different folder from the export location. Then change the scale to 100. Name the file as desired, then click export. Your mesh is ready to import into IMVU. Open IMVU Studio and click Derive. Open the SOB3D Mandy Devkit guide to get the PID of the product needed. In this case, it is the Mandy default body. Copy its PID, paste it in the search bar, and switch the filter to PID. Select the product and click Derive. Change the opacity map in Material 0 to the mcg.jpg file in the Devkits default folder. Click Import Assets at the upper left corner, then select all exported XMF, XRF, and texture files of your project. Go to the Mesh tab, then click the plus sign to add a new mesh. Select 5 as its mesh ID since this is a dress item. Check the SOB3D Mandy Devkit guide for other mesh ID recommendations to prevent your meshes from clashing with other products in IMVU. Select your imported XMF as the mesh. Go to the materials and select the appropriate XRF files per material. The textures will be loaded automatically. Scroll down per material and check double-sided to make the mesh's inner faces visible. Click Preview to see the result. This is the default way to rig clothing items for IMVU, but another option exists for users interested in adding physics to the pecs and glutes of their meshes. Let's see how. Go back to Blender and open the BPSK Maker from your side panel. Scroll down and click Delete Vertex Groups to remove the old weights. Then change the armature object to Avatar Armature Shapes. Scroll up on the BPSK Maker panel, then click Transfer Weights. Put the Avatar Armature Shapes object in pose mode. Then put your mesh in weight paint mode. Smooth out the weight with an iteration count between 1 and 4. Drag out the physics bones and add extra weights at the peak areas using the draw brush on a low strength, adjusted using Shift plus F. Once done, scroll down on the BPSK Maker panel, ensure LF glutes, RT glutes, LF pec and RT pec are all checked, then click Make Shape Keys. Click Delete Vertex Groups again, then delete both armature modifiers. To test successful shape key processing, move the pec and glute bones around to see if they still move. If they do, all that's left for you is to do another transfer, smooth, and limit total the same way as the default process. Then you're going to export it the same way as with the default process, giving the file a different name, of course. Then in IMVU Studio, derive from the shape's full body product, not the default one. Set up the meshes and materials as before, and you're done. So what then is the difference? If you test with the action product linked in this video's description, you'll notice that in the first dress, the pec and glute areas are static, but in the second dress, there's a bit of movement because of the physics shape keys. Another thing you can do with the BPSK Maker add-on is export a scalar. Scale up the pecs as desired, then with the mesh selected, click Export Shapes Pose. Import the XPF file exported, click on the Actions tab, then the plus sign to make a new action. Name the action Blink, then change its type to Avatar. Under Morph Animation, select your imported XPF file and set the loops to 0. Click Preview to see your full result. Linked in this video's description are other dev kits with different body shapes that work similarly. Be sure to leave any questions you may have in the comments. Thank you for watching.